can't sleep. Turn candlesticks in the dark, visions of bodies being burned.
All right, y'all. We back on Porch Discussions another week. We got some guests with us. We got Dr. Hill. She's going to be talking to us. We had Miss Darby Adams, who kind of went out. Maybe she'll come back at some point. She's with Your Village LLC. She's one of my former students. She's doing a lot of good stuff within the community. Oh, she's back. She's doing a lot of good stuff within the community.
I'm back.
They're going to have an event this weekend. So all I want her to do is tell us who she is, what her organization is and what it does, and to tell us about the event that she has this weekend. Darby, make sure you speak up, baby.
Okay, will do. Hello, everybody. My name is Darby. Sorry for the loud noise. I'm at my other job. You know, Black women got to stay, on her thing, especially as a young Black woman. I'm the owner of Your Village LLC. It is a public relations company. So I'm on here, and I want to thank Mr. Biggs so much for inviting me. He is one of my old teachers. He has pushed me to, motivate other students as he has done me coming up through Southern and just through the education system in Durham. So I am here today to invite everyone who is tuning in. I've partnered with Brightwood Permaculture Farm. If you've known about the activist Skip Gibbs, he was granted land, and he has made a space where we can fellowship, and he has granted me the opportunity to host our first poetry slam this Sunday from 2 to 6. It'll be on the Brightwood Farm itself in a cozy and warm barn house. So it'll be a spoken word where we'll be fellowshipping with other Black speakers, poets, and other talented artists. So I'm really excited to host this. It is $5 at the door. They will be donated back to Brightwood, where they will continue their construction into Black development centers. So if you are interested, if you would like to speak, if you would like to join and share your talent, you can definitely send an email to spokenrevolution21@gmail.com, or you can send me a text or call me at 919-888-1703. So I would love for everyone to come out and just support the culture, support Black History Month, and just be a support to something for this day and age.
Yeah, well, so, Darby, I thank you for hopping on. Before you leave, please let everybody know what your IG handle is for from Your Village. Oh,
yes, we'll do. So my Instagram is at yourvillage_LLC. Again, at yourvillage_LLC. Follow me, and that's where you'll find all the details to any events that I'm a part of.
All right. Well, we thank you, baby. You have a good night at work too.
Keep supporting
you, Darby. All right. We're back now, y'all. We are back with Dr. Hill. Dr. Hill. Miss Janai Childress, the secondary responsibilities of introducing Dr. Hill, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone, and welcome to our Front Porch discussion. Today we have a very special guest on that's dear to my heart. She is a firecracker, an intelligent firecracker. That's what I call her. Her name is Dr. Hill. She is an educator, an author. She's a community activist. She is an alumni of Winston-Salem State University. She has written several books. She has a series out now that's incredible that really focuses on mental health. She goes by the motto of continue to be a beacon of light. And that's how she kind of spearheaded all of her projects just to keep pushing and going. And she is amazing. She also has a podcast called Value Egg Talk that is on YouTube. Anchor. Sorry. She'll fill you in. But I just want to say thank you for coming on, for being a guest, girl. And let's get nitty gritty down to this mental health, honey. Let's go.
I'm ready to go. Let's
go. Well, Dr. Hill, if you don't mind, Janai did a wonderful job. But if you could give us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to this point and how mental health and education have become your passion, I'd appreciate that.
So thank you again, Janai, for the wonderful introduction.
Yes, yes.
And numerous of projects together. And I look forward to doing more. And I would say that I got to this point through, like most individuals, they go through different life situations. So I started off as an undergraduate student at Winston State University, on the campus, being a single mom of two boys. So as the church mothers say, she got pregnated without being married. So that type of situation. And so grandma raised me. I was a very, very conservative church going young lady, very conservative. It took a lot for me to come out my shell. And so with that, having two kids back to back, brought up initially postpartum. And at that point, I kind of weaned myself away from, the fact that it may have been depression or anxiety. And so fast forward, I continued on with my education, with my master's, doctorate. So I went straight through school from high school all the way up into my doctoral studies. And so I did that at the age of 28. I was back in the youngest one, really on the market, thriving, doing different things in the city, city of Winston-Salem, as well as within different organizations that I'm a part of. And so after all of that, life came at me very fast with my mom, dad, and grandmother all being diagnosed at the same time with this thing called cancer. It was different types of cancer that they had. My father passed away last year. My grandmother passed away in 2018. My mom is still thriving. She's a survivor. She's on remission. And so with all of that, it has been tough for me. Like Janai shared that, I've always been kind of like on fire, go-getter. I'm always, moving and thriving. But since 2016, it's been kind of rough. So I've, started kind of shaky. But I persevered through it all. And so that's how I got to where I am today. And of course, with God's grace and mercy.
You muted, Joey.
You on mute, Joey.
I'm sorry. I said, yeah, I love that story, and I definitely can relate to the troubles that you faced in 2016. I faced similar troubles back in 2019 as my wife, who you see over my shoulder, passed away. So I can definitely understand how things go for you when you're trying to push forward and succeed and be there for definitely your kids in that type of season. So I definitely understand that. And my condolences to you and the rest of your family.
But thank you so much.
Yeah. So we're going to set it off. Who's going to set it off first? We got Janai, we got Eric. We got some questions for you, Dr. Hill. So I'm going to let Janai go first.
Okay, so you have first of all, how many books have you actually published?
Okay, my very first book was my dissertation, and that's in leadership, democratic leadership, incorporating democratic. That was the very first one that was published in 2015 through ProQuest. It's also available on Amazon. Then I have the Value of Cold series, the Value of Cold Woman's Perspective, the Value of Cold Keeping the Fire Burning, and then the Value of Cold On the Solid Rock I Stand. It's a 30-day mental health challenge. It's a very interactive book. And so the reader have the opportunity to read notes from the author, which is myself, as well as jot down their thoughts after they take on a challenge that I present them within the book. So that's 4 books in all.
Oh, awesome.
You're writing about mental health. We know in our community, in the Black community, that has been something that has a negative stigma to it. All of us at some point have probably had someone in their family that just had a mental breakdown or had some situations going about, or, just me being a Black man, I understand the stressors that we go through on a daily basis, the threat of death every time we leave our home and things of that sort. But we don't want to talk to anybody. What can you tell us about that situation? Why is it that we don't like to talk to people, maybe, and give us the benefits of being in a therapist chair and talking to someone about what's going on with us?
Um, I think with the African American culture is more of a once again, I was raised up with grandma in the church. The older saints say, "Hey, pray about it, keep going, you'll be all right." So a lot of things I would say it's a cultural, moral type thing with the African American community where we rely on the church so much to heal everything. Now we know God is a healer; He's a provider. He never fails us. I know that, and because that's what my grandmother taught me. And it's nothing wrong with having faith, but just like, someone shared, you break your arm, you're gonna go to the emergency room and you're gonna have a doctor to fix it. To fix it, put it back together. And even though God is our clay maker, okay, he also provided those who study the mind. And so sitting in the therapist chair back in 2015, when it all came down on me, right after I finished my doctorate. I think my body was just overwhelmed. It was just coming out the blue. And so going through therapy, I think it was like my fourth time visiting the ER. And so the psychologist at the ER was like, listen, I'm tired of seeing you. You need to do 10 days of day therapy, mandatory. So it was 10 days going to sit in a group with a group of people. The first day you had to see the psychiatrist. Of course, they put you on meds to go ahead and stabilize the hormones in the brain. So that's the purpose of a lot of the medicine. Is not that you're crazy or anything like that. It's something in the brain that's not really connected, or it doesn't have as much strength. So after sitting there, the first couple of days, the first day I cried the whole time, could not stop crying for whatever reason. I don't know why. And at that time, my grandmother was still living. So she knows everybody. And with her, background here in the city of Winston-Salem, the job that she had working for the county, she knew everybody. And I didn't know going into this facility whether I was going to run into anybody, a church member, a friend, or whomever. I didn't know. So, I was kind of embarrassed the first couple of days. And so by the third day, fourth day, the people in the circle became a family. We was not allowed to exchange numbers or anything like that during day therapy. You cannot have your cell phone. So from 8:30 to about 12:30, you were in a building with a group of people, and you had to talk about your goals each day. So one minor goal at that time when I was really down and out was to get up, to put some clothes on, brush my teeth, and help my kids get ready for school. My grandmother helped out a lot. Her and my mom helped out a lot, helping me get my kids together, and going to school and things like that. Because the only thing I was able to do was take my medicine. At that time, I was on high dosage for anxiety and depression. And so by the end of the 10 days, I learned a lot by listening to other people's stories. And I wasn't the only African-American woman in the room. It was another African-American woman in the room. She actually worked in corporate America. I also had a Caucasian attorney that was sitting beside me, a Caucasian traveling nurse sitting on the other side of me. And so once you sit in a room with other people and you hear that they're on stronger than you are, they really have multiple personalities. You don't know whether they're going to go off, whether they took their medicine or not. You kind of think about, okay, I'm not in such of a bad place as I thought I was. And so you hurry up and kind of, get yourself together. So the therapy, honestly, and I don't mind saying this, the therapy going and sitting and talking to somebody that's non-biased works so much better than the meds that I'm currently still on today. And I'm on low dosages than of one medicine than I was back then. So, and I do check in every 3 to 4 months with my psychiatrist. She's amazing. But yeah, the therapy, honestly, it works better than the meds. So if I was able to do that at least once a week, I probably wouldn't even have to be on the dosage that I'm on today.
I can kind of relate to that too. I'm not on any meds, but after the passing of my wife, I've always been one. Even when she would talk about it, I was like, I'm not talking to somebody else. What I got to talk to them about? They don't know me. I don't want them listening to me. And then my kids, when she was going through her breast cancer situation, we sent both of our kids to start speaking with a therapist, and she's real good too. And my daughter, I think, had a little bit of anxiety, just going from middle school to high school, and there was some other things that came about with that. So that helped out as well. And I didn't even know really that my wife would have some anxieties at times, especially with crowds, and that my son had it. And so I really don't have that problem. So it was a good thing for everyone. And then I eventually started going once my wife passed. And I will say I think it did something for me. I can't say what, but it was somewhat of a help. Then we got Allnite has something he wants to say.
Yeah. Hey, Dr. Hill, thank you for joining us again. How do you know, or if you really know what that first sign looks like that you need to go and sit down and talk to somebody?
When you have patterns of certain behaviors that you know for a fact you cannot control, and you'll know because it's gonna come, it'll come at you, and I think it was there. I just didn't pay it no attention. So when it came, it just came, and it just didn't stop, and I just had immediate help, at that point. So when you start seeing or feeling or thinking different patterns of different things, and I can honestly say, have I honestly sat with my therapist and went through the grieving process? No, I have not. Sometimes my husband asks me, why have I not gone? I said, well, I'm trying to use some of the things that I learned through therapy to get through the process. And so at some point, when it's about time for me to go and check up with her again, we will probably have that discussion, facing the now stage with my father who passed last year. And then, still having those thoughts of, replaying the last couple of days with my grandmother, and always wanting to talk about it to everybody, like everybody, knows her. But when you start having different, the same patterns of thoughts, or different behaviors, you can't sleep, or you can't stop pacing throughout the house. You stutter when you talk. Sometimes, a lot of people, that's a sign of anxiety. And that, I think Mr. Biggs had referenced something about large crowds. I'm a totally different person than I was back in 2015 when all this took place. I'm real cautious now about being large, large environments and things like that, because it is just a part of the process. So I do understand about that.
Thank you.
Did that answer the question?
Dr. Hill, I have a question for you. You have several mottos. I actually want to ask about two of them, so it's like a two-part question.
Okay.
I'll start first with the healing. Healing is a mess. So what is behind that whole concept, and how does it relate toward mental healing?
Healing is messy. It was launched this year around my birthday, and I put it out there because the process of healing is messy. One day you're up, one day you're down. The next day okay, I got it. I got faith, I got strength, I have this, I have that. And then the next day it may be something totally different. Not only with that, it impacts everything that you come in contact with. So me being a wife is gonna, impact that. The fact that I, just like yesterday, sat up here and I was like in the middle of watching TV, I told my husband, I said, I honestly don't believe my father's dead. Like I don't think he's dead. And so just have it out the blue, those type things. And I know he probably get, he's been paid, but he gets tired of me reliving and trying to, relive mom, my grandmother and my father and stuff like that. So, with my kids, interact daily interaction is different for me. At work, I have a small group that I net with. If I see someone that has conflicting behaviors, I do not go that way. If it comes to me as a professional, I know how to handle it. But isolation is a big part of it too. And so that all goes back to the mental health. Where I am now, recording, this is a safe haven, my grandmother's room. I've been in this home since I was 2 years old with her. And so taking me out of my comfort zone is a trigger. So even though I'm facing this grieving process, is not easy at all. Yes, I have a lot of, I have extensive credentials, background, things like that. But it's, the healing process is messy. It's just, it is what it is. It's a mess. I'm a mess some days. I may look nice, but the last week, I was a hot mess. I took a PTO. I said, God, you got to help me because I'm trying, but some days if I want to sit and cry, I sit and cry. If I don't, it's one major thing that I know that's a mess, me being a married woman, and I got married right after my grandmother passed. I don't like being in the kitchen. I don't like cooking. My husband's from the country. He's ex-military, so he likes to cook. But that's one flaw that anyone that's close to me know that I have. And sometimes he'll cook, or we'll just stop and get something to eat. But I don't know if it's something with my grandmother's kitchen. It holds a lot of memories. So I think once we move into a bigger home, it will be better for me, not just as a professional to keep everything professional intact, but to also do things here at home so that, my kids and my husband won't feel like I'm neglecting them all the time, because I just want to be in the bed if I'm not working, or doing something productive like what I'm doing now, which is what I love, educating the people, or watching TV. So it's a mess. It impacts everything.
Well,
the second one has to do with, I think it's, you got to correct me if I'm wrong, but it has to do with beacon of light. It has to do with beacon of light, you being a beacon of light in some kind of way, and maybe like shining that light. But I want to know, like, what is the source of that light, and how can you kind of convince a person that may be going through something that they are this beacon of light?
So to continue to be a beacon of light is basically whatever your light is, whatever your gifts are, let it shine. So even though I may be struggling, and we're recording, the stories out there, but a lot of my story is out there if you purchase my books. I'm not ashamed to say that, I struggle with mental health. I'm an advocate. I'm a patient because I still see my for different check-ins. But I still have gifts and talents. And so continuing to let my light shine through it all is what that means. You still have to persevere and push through. And so even on here speaking about real hard facts about things that I go through as a mental health advocate. I do a lot of praying. I do a lot of reflecting on the words that my grandmother taught me. So the light is really strength and perseverance, and my passion. So I'm passionate about, education, motivation, inspiration. And so I keep myself involved in those things to keep pressing forward so that I can know and accept that I can help somebody else. Because I don't, me telling my story, people say, oh yeah, I read the book, or I'm gonna get the book. You just never know who you may touch. So being a beacon of light is, the strength and to continue to pursue your passion and your purpose. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have just noticed that I'm gonna have to stop letting Miss Janai Childress
What?
invite people to the show, because every time she's got a guest, it's 2 for 2 right now. I really don't have much to say. I'm kind of in awe and listening and taking it in. She had someone speaking about vision and manifestation.
Manifestation.
So that's something I believe in. And then to have you here and to know I've been meaning to talk to Janai and Eric and mention it to Allnite too about just doing one show talking about the grieving process and dealing with death. Because I had another dude here in Durham that's real cool with me. He just lost his wife recently. One of my frat brothers lost his wife, and he would check on me from time to time. And I think there needs to be a space where I can share what has happened with me. I've done it before, bits and pieces, and maybe by me sharing my experiences, it can help someone else. And if they felt comfortable to listen or come on and share theirs, and maybe we could reach even more people. But that thing you were saying about that daily fight, I think I'm a pretty strong person. I think I deal with things pretty well. My dad, people say, how do you get through this? Well, my dad raised me really not to complain and just to figure stuff out. And then there was a lot of death around me at a young age. Grandparents, great grandparents, aunts, uncles, even friends. I had a friend in kindergarten that died. We'd been in school maybe 4 weeks, and then he met his death. So that's why I don't do hospitals. I know that about me. So if anybody here gets hurt, I will call and check on you.
Yeah, I don't.
Because everybody I've ever loved, once they go in, they usually don't come out. I don't really do funerals. That's not how I want to remember you. And so to see that you won't go into the kitchen and things of that sort, I don't have that pleasure of not going in places in my house. But my wife died right in our bedroom. And I will tell you, for any man to sit there and see your wife take her last breath after she's asking you for help and there's nothing that you can do, and this happens 11 days after her father died, when you all were both taking care and helping for her father, it'll do something to you. It'll do something to you. And so I noticed that when it happened, I wasn't sleeping. And then I got better. And then COVID hit. And I had to spend a lot of time at home. And I was away from work and all of that. And then right around her anniversary of her death in 2020, and then we go into November, where it's Thanksgiving and our wedding anniversary stuff, I've noticed I'm not sleeping again. 2, 3 in the morning, even when I go to sleep at 2, I'm up in the next 20 minutes, 15 minutes. Can't seem to get up. I was used to waking up at 5 in the morning. I might be awakened at 5, but there's some days I don't even want to get out of bed. I just want to lay there all day. I notice my motivational levels are gone, like as far as working out and going to the gym, doing entrepreneurial things that I wanted to do. And I have totally stopped reading. That was something I did. I didn't watch TV. I read. But I noticed that I started doing more social media and not really reading the stuff that was on, so just scrolling. And I'm feeling like I'm wasting my time and wasting away and not being productive. So then I get those feelings and I get on myself because I am my biggest critic. And so it's just a continuous cycle. And I've been trying to step off of it, and I get off for a while. I do all right, and then I get back on it. Then I get off, and I get back on it. And so I understand what you're going through. Janai, we got to talk next time you invite somebody to be on the show. We don't have to cut you.
I'll say this.
Cut you out inviting people.
No, Joey originally, and I don't know if you know this, Dr. Hill, Joey originally came up with this concept for front porch discussions to discuss men issues and things that men were going through. And also his sister and I are best friends, and we said that it was probably a grieving process for him to to talk it out because everybody grieves differently. And I think this is Joey's way of dealing with the grief somehow. We have numerous topics that we talk about and discuss, and Joey's very active in all the conversations. But it's just that these two people that I brought on, he is just like he'll just be mute. So one of the things that I want to say, and you can kind of help me out with this, I think accountability when you're going through grief is one of the most important things you can do. But I find sometimes that people that are grieving and you want to reach out to them, you want to say, hey, are you okay, or do this. I know I was on Joey real hard for a minute with the fitness stuff, and then I kind of backed off because I don't want to feel like I'm overstepping my boundaries, or so talk to us about how accountability is important when you're going through the grieving process.
I'll say it, the things that I know for a fact that I have to do, I make sure it gets done, and I do whatever I need to do to get. And that means getting up in enough time to get ready for work. I need coffee in the mornings, so I get my coffee in the mornings. Everybody around me, coworkers. If I don't come in the door with some coffee, they're gonna go get me some coffee. And I get through the day, and one of my friends recently lost her mom. Due to, one thing, like I said, this being a platform for you to talk about the process, or you've been able to talk it out. That's the way I get through as well. If I'm able to help somebody else understand that I literally have strength like no other, because I ask God for strength. I ask Him for strength when my grandmother went into sleep here at home. Um, everything around to be with her, and since that day, He has given me exactly what I asked for, and it's interesting because my son asked, "Mom, you didn't cry at grandma." I closed the casket, put her up there, everything. Now it's more like, okay, all right, it said be strong. She asked me specifically, and I was never the disobedient type of parent. So she asked me to be strong. She asked me to keep a job. She asked me to continue to see my doctors because I had children to care for. And so I was, at that time I wasn't married when she made her statement, and she told me that's what I need you to do. Because she knew once the Lord called her home, that was all I ever had, and that was it. And so I reflect on that conversation while I was massaging her feet while she was in her reclining chair. And I had tears flowing, and I know it's gonna hurt. I know it's gonna hurt. But those words that she gave to me was my accountability statement. I would never forget it. And so I say that to say that's what keeps me going. She asked me to do one thing. I never been disobedient. And even though she's not here, there are things I still would not do, would not say, would not act upon. Because I know that's not what she taught me. So obedience is better than sacrifice. And my accountability came from the statement that she declared to me before she went to be with the Lord.
Go ahead, DJ.
Wow, that's what you're saying is just real deep and profound. I kind of want to step away from that for a minute, and talk about medication versus non-medicating. I know you said that you were on medication, I'm looking at it from being an educator. A lot of times when children are, I guess, being assessed or what have you, the first thing is, well, they need medication. Can you kind of talk about how do you know that you need medication versus just different alternative forms of healing per se?
Okay.
That's a
Well,
word.
what I will say is, and this is the way, I kind of explain it to parents that may reach out about that, because I've had a lot of parents to say, hey, you're an educator. What do you think about kids being on meds? This is my philosophy. If you see and know that the child is at home, and it's go for adults, okay, too, patterns of behavior. It goes back to the patterns, like I shared before. If you see at home that the child cannot function, or they have to be redirected entirely too much at a certain age, and if it's affecting the academic aspect of the child, if the child can't focus in school, can't sit down, can't get the child assessed by the doctor, and it's up to the parent whether they go through with it. My thing is, if it's in the early stages, I would say K-5, do what needs to be done in K-3, because once they get to third grade, they start testing. And so at this point, they need to make sure K-2, they have the foundations. Okay. So if you see something early on, tackle it early on. They can, children can outgrow those things. And it's not something that they have to be on forever. So if it's affecting the academics, yes, try it, and and the child can grow out of it as an adult. If it's affecting, like tremendously affecting what you're doing or what you have to do, you need some help. It's nothing wrong with it. My grandmother, she made me feel comfortable. And certain other individuals that's close to me that knows, they make me feel comfortable knowing it's okay to have something to help you. Cause and some days I wonder, how am I still standing? I was the primary responsibility for grandma and dad. My mom's medical power of attorney. I'm still on that. So it's a lot. So I do need something to help me, stay
balance
level.
it out.
Yeah, I got to.
Well,
Thank you
I
for
know.
that.
I know people don't want to have you self-medicated. I don't use any drugs, but I found peace in sitting on my deck and smoking cigars and my bourbon and my beer. Because, like you, a lot of people don't understand the other pressures that come along with being the primary person that's left behind. I had to deal with my wife's estate. I had to make sure everything got paid while also taking care of the household itself and making sure it was right. Then I got, my son is in college. My daughter's here at the home with me, which is very different dynamic. I got thrown into single parenthood. And now first and foremost, I gotta say, I got a support system that's out of this world. So I'm gonna say that. And this is not to negate anything that they've done, because everybody has been tremendously helpful. Whenever I needed anything, when I didn't need anything, and them just offering themselves, and that lets you know that God put certain people in your life for certain things and the way they've been. Even my coworkers, I give a shout out to them and the understanding that they had with me going through this entire process when my wife was sick and everything else. So I've been blessed. So I can't complain in that aspect, but there's still those things that they don't know about. And I might not even be able to express or tell them about that I go through. And not even a therapist. I mean, I've gone to the therapist and we talk, but it's just, unless you in it, you don't really, 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 really understand. And, and like I said, my wife's father passed 11 days before she did. That's still another estate I got to get to. I got to clean that up. I got to help take care of that. Now, she does have a brother, but he's not really equipped because he has some substance abuse problems and things of that sort. So that's gonna fall upon me, and that's a whole nother fight that's gonna happen between me and him, trying for me to clean up what needs to be cleaned up because he doesn't have the capacity to do so, but not gonna really want to relinquish control. So I'm going through that, and just trying to the things that I have saved and tucked away to put them out and bear more fruit so that I leave something for my kids and help get generational wealth or something going. It's a whole lot. It's a whole lot, and I can't even really express it to them, and I don't even know if they understand. Because they're young and they want what they want and when they want it and right immediately, and it's just a big mess, man.
Yeah,
Doctor, I have a question in regards to mental health and the conditions that kind of everyone has been explaining. So, as it relates to mental health, should your focus be, I don't know, should your focus be on ideal situations, or how does that work in relationship to focusing on how you put like things that put you in like a negative mind frame as opposed to a positive mind frame, or at least a growing or development type of mind frame, if my question is coming across right?
So are you asking how to stay positive even when
I'm saying in terms of a fixed mindset rather than like a growth type of a mindset. How does that relate in terms of mental health? And kind of back to what you were saying in healing is a mess. Healing's in a mess. So is it like uniform? Like it's a multi-layered question, but I really want to know, because sometimes you can focus on certain things that are not really beneficial to your growth and your mental wellness. And how do you distinguish between my focus is healing or now my focus is being a detriment? Like, how do you make that distinction between your mind and what you focus your mind on?
once it's a time and place for everything, and I like the term that you use, fixed mindset, growth mindset, because I love those terms. I love to work with those terms. And so going through the healing process, depending on where you are with the grief part, since we've been talking about grieving, I might fix on, I might be in my own shell while I'm at home, and I'm just fixed on thinking about my dad, why he not here, all these questions that we ask the Lord when we don't supposed to ask. And well, why this and why that? But at the end of the day, in order for me to continue to be that big life, I have to have a growth mindset. I'm educated enough to know that at the end of the day, at some point, it ain't going, I'm never gonna forget them, but I have to keep going. Because they're not coming back. And I know they're not coming back. Some days I sit and wonder, like, I'm gonna call my dad. No, Brittney, he's not here. So, as an educator and being the type of that I am, and always encouraging people, it's okay. Let's move forward. Let's press forward. Find some things to do to keep you busy. That's the growth mindset. Understanding and accepting that, my grandmother is no longer in pain. She don't have to deal with her son who is incarcerated. He's been incarcerated in and out since he was 16 years old. So that's stressful for her. She no longer have to worry about paying bills every month, fixed income. And she's no longer in pain. Same with my father. He's no longer in pain. So I think about the bright side. And then I go back to my childhood and how I was brought up and things like that. So I take those things and I place it before me and I reflect on it so that I can grow as an adult. And as my son said, my seventh grader told me, he said, Mom, the reason why you know, the Lord took your grandmother and your father and is so that you can grow up. He told me that. Straight A student, he thinks outside the box. He wants to go to home. And I'm pushing him. And so I accepted that. You know, I accepted that every time I turned around, I stayed here with grandma until, you know, she passed away. I had that luxury that, you know, whatever my husband called it, a picket fence mentality. You know, I kind of had it made with grandma living. But in all reality, you know, she taught me to be independent, work hard, stay focused. She allowed me to get through all my schooling so that, you know, when she's not here, I can have a job that will pay me more than enough to be able to take care of the children, whether I decided to get married again or not. And so that's the takeaways from it. And so I just have to reflect on what they asked of me before they left, and continue with that, you know, so that I won't stay so fixed on the fact that they're not here. Why they not here? You know, God don't make no mistakes, you know, and so I just have to embrace it. It's a process and keep it moving.
Yeah, you were supposed to be here to talk to me tonight.
So I know we.
Go ahead, Eric, and then I'll shoot you guys.
Because this is interesting, because I know we deal with a lot of different types of issues. I know we kind of surrounding it with grief, but what I'm finding is we as Black people, we deal with all types of trauma, from childhood, from different abuses that we may experience. And a lot of times in our development, our inability to actually focus on those situations, kind of like you said, reflect on them, and resolve those in order to grow as people and be better to ourselves and our community, is sometimes a difficult obstacle for us to get over. So I'm really intrigued by understanding what it is that allows someone to make those necessary adjustments in order to focus on situations that we've been through, not to necessarily forget them, but to utilize them in order to get better or grow. I'm not necessarily get better, but to grow, or whatever it may be, to say you have this mental wellness.
Yes, yes, yes. I often I reflect a lot on the way, I mean, because my grandma was a firecracker, and that's sometimes I call my mom and we'll sit and chat, talk to my brothers, and we'll be making fun of some of the things that she would say and things like that. And my mama often tell me, you know, she probably somewhere telling you, you know, Brittney, you need to get your act together. You know, that was her thing. When you gonna grow up, you need to get your act together. I'm not gonna always be here. So she kind of really prepped me for her. And so whatever prayers she prayed before she got too ill, I do know that they're still working in my and I know a lot of dealt with strength because she knew she was all that I had. And she knew no one else would love me or care for me or support me in this mental health journey but her, not the way she did. And so I've been doing extremely well since she has not been here. And I thank God for continuing to give me that strength, because it is nobody but him. I know. A lot of people thought I was gonna break. I never thought what life was gonna be like without her. And so now is more of, you know, my father. I'm still kind of, you know, like, you know, you told me you were fine. You told me you were gonna be okay. And now you're not here. So, you know, in all, I reflect back on it, my grandmother, and that's what keeps me going, honestly.
I have a question. I'm sorry. Like Eric, I'm also definitely very intrigued by this, and I'm wondering though, is there an end goal in therapy? Is there like a point where you get to the point, and you know, even if you want to share in your own journey, is there a point where you get to and you're like, okay, I'm good?
Yeah, but
You said yeah.
I think with me, I'll be good once, and I know this sounds crazy because I know I'll probably have to check on me when the day comes, and I'll let Miss Childress know when it happens. But when I move into a new home, I think that's when my beginning mentally will you know, my newness, the new norm will really kick in. The new norm now is more with the absence, you know, with her just not being here. But I'm still in the home that I grew up in with her. And so I think when I make that big step and, you know, we move into a new home, whether it's in Winston-Salem or not, that'll be my time to really see what therapy and everything, you know, all the things grandma shared with me about strength and having faith and continuing on, when that really actually start playing a true factor. Because I no longer have, I'm still holding on
Right.
to memories by living in my childhood home.
So can I say something to you?
Yes.
Okay. So one of the things that I went through when I went through my mother died, I lost my best friend, went through a divorce, and I realized that you cannot heal in the environment that hurts you. So I would take that and say you can't heal in the same environment where you're still holding on to these memories that are not allowing you to be who you are throughout the day. So I charge you as your friend and sister friend to write down maybe a 3-month, a 6-month, and a 12-month goal for you to go through that process of leaving out. Like I know for me, I still have like 2 of my mother's shirts in the closet and they just sit there and I just keep them there. I don't wear them. I just keep them there. I have a pair of shoes of like slippers in my mother at work. And one day my assistant was like, I'm going to throw these out. I was like, you will not. You will not. And she was like, oh, my bad. I'm sorry. So for you, I would just say to try to because I know you're a dynamic woman. I know you're a great mom and all those things. And I know that you being a newly married and to be in your own home, it just will unpeel all of that you're holding on to. And I think once you unpeel all of that, you're going to be like, I should have did this earlier.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to make you a less of a person. It's just going to make you a better person. But until you realize that, then you can't do it. So I charge you to go ahead and make it 9 months.
I'm definitely going to do that because there are there are things still in the home. And I gave my husband a hard time when we fully moved back. That you just don't touch. If it has her name on it, you do not, like her trophies and she was church and things like that, just sentimental things. Her nightgown, her blue nightgown, I wear that. I still have that. So I have little things, certain things I will hold on to. Like you said, I do need to, and I know that moving out of childhood home is going to be the best thing for me. I know I'm going to cry and I'm going to go through the motions because that's a part of the healing process. It's messy. I'm going to cry. I'm going to have, you know, I know I'm going to go through it. So I'm going to take on that challenge. Thank you for the challenge. I'm going to take it on. And yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to move forward. I just want to get through the initial part because I know I'm gonna break because of the emotion of But I think I'm ready. I'm ready.
Well, I will tell you. I told you my wife passed away in our bedroom. I can't move, so
Well, I'm
I
not
don't,
telling you to move,
I don't
Joey.
know. I
You
don't
ain't
know
got to
what advice you're not giving now. It ain't happening over here.
No, I'm not telling you that. It's for her.
Uh, but
yeah.
I understand what you're saying about the beacon of light and what Eric was saying about growth mindset and fixed mindset. I know a lot of guys and a lot of people in general that, I don't know if they thought I was going to fall apart, if they expected me to fall apart. A lot of people said, I don't know how you keep going. So I just chose positivity over negative. I chose to try to be full of life and love as opposed to have hatred and the other side of things. And I think it speaks volumes to, and I'm not bigging up myself, but to any man to be able to be positive and give to others when they're going through their own personal struggle. And so I choose that side as opposed to everything else. And so, I have my moments like anybody else, and the motivation to keep going gets kind of hard. And then the things talking about holding on to stuff, and I had to clean out our closet and take my wife's clothes and stuff out of there. I felt like I was throwing her away,
Yes.
and that was real hard for me. And then I got stuck with the stuff because as soon as I got that closet cleaned out, COVID hit. So the places I was going to take them, they weren't accepting clothing and things like that because I really don't want to sell the stuff. I really prefer to give it to some women that are in need and may need that help, whether it be a battered woman's home or what have you. Because my wife had a very giving spirit, and that's who she was. So I refuse to sell it. A lot of people, hey, you get a lot of money yard sale, and I know that. And you can, who can't use some money? Even if you got a lot, you can use some more. But I refuse to do that. And then there's certain things in the house I've been, trying to finish projects that we talked about and make certain changes. And I've had friends suggest, why don't you change that and use this color pillow? And I get very defensive. And I try not to say why. I just say, no, I don't like that. But then they kind of keep pushing sometimes. And then I have to say, Stephanie chose that. It's going to stay like that. That's a real sensitive spot. So, and Janai knows she got real sensitive on me a couple of times because at night I used to shower in my wife's shower gel, just so that I could have her scent on me or near me. And now it's run out and I don't know what to do. I'm gonna have to go find that same product again.
Well, where's it
It,
at? What kind of product is it?
I had some of her old stuff that she really liked, but she had stopped using that. It was just two things that she had stopped using, but I liked them on her. One of them was the Britney Spears Fantasy, and the other was the Bath and Body Works Warm Vanilla Sugar. So I just go back and purchase some more of that stuff, and so I can do my nighttime showers now.
So if you're smelling like a woman when I see you, then I know why. All right, I got you.
Hey,
All right.
but trust me, my manhood is intact, bro.
I always know that. I'm just saying.
Very intact.
Makes you feel better, then do what makes you feel better.
Yeah.
And I tell people, I tell one of my close friends, once again, she lost her mom due to COVID, and it was out the blue, and it was very unexpected. And do what you have to do for you until you get to a breaking point. And I tell people, I don't care if I don't want to do something, I'm not gonna do it. If it's not harming anybody, if I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it. If I don't feel comfortable doing it, I'm not doing it. And once again, that goes back. Healing is messy. You're gonna be frustrated. You're gonna be angry. You're gonna be isolated. Okay, it's just what it is. Mm-hmm. And you'll know who's for you because they're gonna stand right there with you regardless of the situation. They're gonna understand and accept you for who you are. Because I'm definitely not the same person I was a few years ago.
I have a question too that was texted me by someone that's watching. It actually is my wife's very best friend. She too has had a whole lot of struggles because she and my wife talk every day, several times a day. And then now, those phone calls aren't happening. So I try to keep up that tradition with her, and I try to make sure I talk to her about once a week, at least to, she still had that connection. But she said, what is the motivation to keep going? That's she I mean, she's going through the motions and she's doing all right. And I'm very proud of her because to understand the relationship that they had, and now that best friend, I mean, they've been together since they were 18, and then now that void is there. And, she's going through some other stuff personally, which she would have had my wife there to lean on and talk to. And she's not here now. So that she just wants to know what's the motivation to keep going.
I would say think about those intimate conversations you had, and it's just, for her or anyone else that may be dealing with the loss of someone, about those close-knit intimate conversations that you all had, whether they were towards the end of life or, just in general. Think about if it was her, how would she handle it? How would she come to you and, address the situation or how would she comfort you during this time? Once again, words of affirmation is my love language. And so that was one thing with my grandmother and with my father. The words they spoke to me meant a lot. But they meant what they said, and I knew whatever that they said to me was for my good. It was gonna help me, They both knew that I was afraid and fearful. It was always my fear to lose my grandmother. Out of all people, that was my worst fear, to lose her. And so even when things may not be having a good day with my spouse, sometimes I'll just start crying and, wishing my dad was there. If my dad was here, I wouldn't have to go through this, type thing. Or if my grandma was here, I can just go to my grandma's house and I don't have to deal with you, type thing. But with that, I have to think about the words that they would have shared with me during that time. And you want a husband, you got one, let him do his
Hey.
thing to can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I hear that. Went out for a minute.
So yeah, so I would just think about and cherish the moments, the words that they shared during different.
All right, I'm sure that helped her a lot.
I got a question that's totally out of left field. Dr. Hill, since you are from Winston-Salem, can you explain to me why they call Winston-Salem the Tray 4?
That is so left field.
I just want to know. Nobody's ever been able to tell me that.
From my understanding, it has something to do with the thing called the jailhouse.
Okay.
And the 4, the 3 and the 4, something with the jailhouse, with the 3 and the 4. And people say, "Oh, I'm from the Tray 4." They basically saying they feel like Winston is the miniature, the next to the top of the line. Like, I'm gonna get you on sight. They really mean that, and they don't care whether it's daylight or not. That's been my interpretations from those that are out, that population of individuals that I may have come in contact with. That's how it was explained to me.
Okay. I
So
did. I always wanted to know what that was.
they say people from Detroit, they reckless. They
They
reckless.
reckless. Okay, that's what that means.
They reckless.
Okay.
That's your area too, ain't it, E?
Yeah, I came up in Winston-Salem, but I was so far detached from it, I didn't even know why. I know people always call it that, but I didn't know why. When I was there, they called it the Twin City. See? Winston-Salem.
How old are you?
I'll be 50 this year.
Oh, really?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was there in like the 80s. I was in Winston in the 80s and 90s.
I'm 34. I was born in 87, so.
Well, I'm from Laurinburg, Washington Park, where they ruthless, we toothless.
But yeah, they just say Winston, the people around here, they just reckless. They will get you on site. They don't care.
Oh, okay. Trey Foe. It wasn't like that when I was there. We were still going to Ruby Bell Park, driving through Winston Lake.
Yeah, no.
Look at there. Laurinburg is popping on the screen now. They popping. They heard me say that LBT is live. I know y'all talking about Trey Ford. Y'all talking about Bull City. But I'm trying to tell you, it's no cakewalk down home, especially in Washington Park. So, now they screaming all the hoods now, Carol. All the hoods coming up on the screen now. Laurinburg.
All the way left.
County.
Yeah.
Look at that cross the street. They coming. They won't stop. They won't stop. My PA. I just love my people. They support me. I like that.
Yes,
Laurinburg big enough to have all them many hoods.
Hey.
No.
Hey, Laurinburg is big enough to have all them hoods. And trust me, I took some dudes from the Bull City home with me, and it got very real very quickly. And they told me don't ever bring them back down there. They found out that just like in the Bull City, it can get very live, very, very live, very, very quickly. You know, we even hold our own against Queens, Janai.
Whatever. We don't even stop.
Everybody's scared of Queens.
Janai ain't no joke. She ain't no joke.
Yeah, I had to ask that before you got out of here, doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, goodness.
Well, tonight has been incredible to me. We got 7:25 now. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to start wrapping it up. But I appreciate you being here. Hopefully we can have you again.
Yes.
You're going to have my head spinning all the rest of the night and analyzing myself and looking at things and thinking differently. And then it was just okay to have somebody that can relate to some of the things I felt and some of the things that I've been going through that I really hadn't talked about to anybody, not even my mom or my sister. So, I appreciate you. I appreciate you being on here. I encourage everybody to follow your journey. I encourage them to get your books. I encourage them to follow you on Instagram and keep being a beacon of light like you have been, at least tonight for us and for me personally. So I thank you. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate you all. And anytime y'all need anything, I'm here. Janai knows that. Anything that she's in contact with or she touches or whatever, I'm there to support. So I'm very honored to be on you all's platform, and I appreciate it strongly. And anytime you need anything, I'm there.
All right.
Thank you,
so now me and you're gonna have our own conversation because you keep getting these people to put me on mute, and that's a hard thing to do. So
love you, Joey.
Love you too, boo. And we're gonna do something a little different tonight. DJ Allnite gonna take us out like he's been doing for the past 3 to 4 weeks, but we're gonna extend it a little bit. Some of y'all in the crib got ice and can't go places. You ain't got nothing else to do, so we're gonna stretch this little set out for about an extra 5 to 10 minutes and just vibe out with my man for a minute. All right. If you have to get off and y'all have to leave, have a good evening. Have a great rest of the week and weekend. We'll definitely see you next week. But Allnite, it's on you, my man.
All right. Hopefully the static.
I hope so. Because if not, I'm gonna cut you off.
If not, then let me know. Just
You know how I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make it go black. I will remove you.
see what happens.
Hopefully, no
There
static
you go.
problems. Oh, we'll have our business spotlight next week too. We're gonna spotlight Mr. James and Wendy Abrams, Jada's Menswear. They have a lot of neckties, bow ties, and other accessories for men right here in the Bull City. And we'll be passing on a check to them to help support their business, paying it forward. Y'all remember, support Black business. Let's go out here and help our people and let this money circulate in our neighborhoods, man. The dollar does not circulate long enough in our neighborhoods. It usually lasts under 6 days at best, if that. More so is gone within a few hours. So we are the largest consumers, not merchants. Oh, we're gonna bring the house music too.
Your house.
Hey,
Take you back to the sweat box.
what? The 2 to 6 parties. You being a 2 to 6.
Oh, he went silent on us. You know I'm gonna make him go black. Oh, he vibing.
Yeah,
We ain't vibing on nothing.
I feel him though.
I feel it too. You know we're gonna do like we did the other week. For those of y'all still watching, this is the comedy portion of the show.
Yeah.
We did this on purpose, but I'm gonna make DJ
God.
Knight disappear from us because he is vibing and we are not getting anything.
Not getting it at all.
Trisha talking about, no, Trish, this is not NCCU style. It would have been if he had the volume on us, but it's not on us. So we're going to leave, and we're going to do like we do at the church. If all hearts and minds are clear. All right, we're going to say amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
You should pass around the plate, Joe. We can't pass around the plate.
Hey, we're going to let everybody keep their money tonight. We pass to pay it forward. I'll talk to you later.
Peace.
Bye, guys. See you later.